So by now, if you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, I think you're more or less acceptable of spoilers here. I think the statute of limitations is out now, like 2 weeks out from the movie's release. So quite literally, there will be spoilers in this, and I'm not going to tag them as spoilers anymore, because I expect people have seen the movie. Now that we're talking about that, let's talk about the villain of the film, which was of course Michael Keaton, playing the Vulture Adrian Toomes. And recently, Michael Keaton got to sit down and actually talk about the Vulture, and he says, and I quote, "Once we started talking about Vulture, it was clear that the version in the comics wouldn't do, where he was a bald old man. It just never felt terribly scary to the film, to us. So we thought, alright, let's make him more of a middle-aged guy." And then he adds, he was still stealing from Damage Control, but we had a different way into it. Toomes was going to be Peter's teacher, and then we were like, no, let's separate him fully from the school, or at least so it seems. And then I think that's when we decided to make him the love interest's dad. So it definitely sounds like they went through a few minor changes here and there, but from the very early inception of the character, they knew they wanted him to be tied a little bit more personally to Peter Parker and what he's going through, which makes a lot of sense considering that's what they're really trying to do with this Spider-Man, and stick it way closer to him having problems that are way closer to home than more global scale, which I honestly think was a great choice. And quite clearly, when you look at the comic book version of Adrian Toomes, when you look at the older version of the character, I personally don't think that would have worked ever in this version of it. Now, sure, the Sam Raimi version, I think that would have worked, and obviously they borrowed heavily from what that story was going to be. You know, there's direct correlation between Spider-Man 4 and Spider-Man Homecoming, as Kevin Feige did have a hand in shaping that story very early on, and he knew he wanted the Vulture in there. So it's an interesting what could have been, but ultimately, I'm glad we got the villain we did get, considering I would say he's probably one of the best MCU villains, definitely when it comes to, you know, defining his character. So you guys let me know your thoughts. Would you have liked to see that version where he's a teacher in school, or are you fine with what we got?